clear statement earlier, rather my very clear question. What I asked is, how is it that you have called this SPIL committee meeting a forum, and the public forum that ACL had for the public a meeting? And why are you using that to justify not allowing people on the call to see other people on the call or their names? I am not quite certain how that would interfere with all of your very riveting business. And that is what somebody else asked after I did. Mike, you answered a question that I didn't ask. I was very clear. I'm pretty good on making my point clear. If you don't choose to pay attention to the question, I have no control over that. But many people would like an answer to this question because it's been posed many, many times. Kindly answer the question that's being posed. Thank you.
Sure. Thanks, Teresa. And this is Mike. And that was, again, the format of this meeting being a webinar, and then we use that format as well for our INSOAP public meetings, is so that we can focus the agenda on the business items that we have to vote on and have public comment be a piece of that, but we have the other methods to take public comment. And again, this was a recommendation, strong recommendation, both from ACL and from our technical assistance advisors. And so they said that you should do this in order to keep these meetings functioning the way that they should, and you should have other opportunities for the public to give comment. And that was a direct recommendation from both of those groups, and we will continue to abide by their suggestions.
This is Sierra. I'm wondering if it is possible for us to explore other ways of setting this up that can preserve both the needs that you just described for you, but also allow the people who are in attendance to know who's in the room. So I've attended a lot of webinars, and there are quite a few ways that we could set it up so that it maintains the structure that you're looking for, but also may give a little bit more information. And one of the things about attending these meetings is feeling like there is a sense of community and cohesiveness and sort of seeing who else is there in the room from the public. And so I absolutely get that. And I'm just wondering if that is something that this committee or INSILC in general would consider for meetings moving forward. There is an option to have people's little squares show up with their names, but have the cameras cannot come on. So there are other ways, and I'm wondering if there's like a middle ground that we could consider exploring, just to kind of see what other options are there.
Sure, and this is Mike.
That was my comment.
No, I appreciate that, Sierra, and I would just say, yeah. I mean, I think I think we're always looking for ways to improve, the format and the processes for this meeting as well as other meetings that we have. So I'm very willing to explore what those options would be, and looking again into the Zoom settings and some of the different capacities for that. I think that's always something that we can do.
Psychology in Seattle. Love is blind S10 number 8.
And I'm just going, Luis, I see that you have your hand up. I want to use the process of stacking. And so Chris Hollingsworth actually had their hand up before you did. If you don't mind, the stack would be Chris Hollingsworth, Luis, and then Teresa, is your hand still up, or is it up again? I know you may not be able to answer that, but I just want to acknowledge that I see you. Tammy, I'm not sure if you lowered your hand, so I need to know if you are back. So it's Chris Hollingsworth.
Sure.
Who is next, if we can use stack.
Yeah, and Chris, you should be able to give your comment now. Sure.
Oh, there. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I understand that I'm not quite as eloquent as my wife is and as other people on this call are, but if I understand what you have said 2 or 3 times in this meeting in response to the question about letting people see who's on the meetings, uh, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to be flattered or insulted that the presence of my face would disrupt an entire meeting.
Oh, is that your end of your comment, Chris? I can answer
Yeah,
you,
that's
Chris.
the end of my comment, because what you're saying is that having people be able to see someone is distracting. So I just don't understand that logic as to why my seeing Teresa's face on this call would disrupt your doing business. I
I
don't
would also like
understand
to
that.
add, I'm going to add a little bit. So I'm going to add a little bit of something. What happens with the webinar is we have a little bit more control over who is allowed to speak in turn. So if we are on a meeting, anyone can unmute themselves and speak at any time. If we're on a webinar, we can promote the attendees to a panelist, and we're able to make sure that people are speaking one at a time and no one is interrupting each other. That's another benefit that we have to hosting this as a webinar versus a meeting. I also would add that I'm not sure what additional information it would glean for the attendees to know who else is in the meeting. You know, the same way you guys are wondering if it would how much it would hurt the meeting, I'm wondering how much it would help the attendees. I'm not sure why this continues to be a point of tension.
Because I might have a point that someone else agrees with, and that person and I could get together and discuss that. But the answer that you just gave is an entirely different answer that Mike gave 2 or 3 times. So if I need to know,
it's in addition to.
okay.
Correct. And I think Katie may be accurate as to part of the reason ACL made that suggestion. But again, we're using this format because ACL and our technical assistance folks have recommended that we use this for our meetings. And so I think we will continue to do that, but I do think that we will look into some of the options and such for viewing participants and all of that, as Sierra had suggested a few minutes ago.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate that. And Luis, you're next.
Am I on?
Yes, go ahead, Luis.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so this is Luis. I have to go with keeping it as a webinar. That way, the meeting is controlled and contained. In addition, I don't believe to make it mandatory for people to actually turn their cameras on, or keep it off. In that respect, I just think as long as there's a name posted of some kind, we're not going to be able to control it all. However, I'm of one that I don't think that we should have, that we have to have people turn their cameras on. It shouldn't be mandatory is what I'm getting at, because I'm one that I don't want my camera on.
Sure, and I think this is Mike, and I think that's good feedback, Luis. That's something I think that we'll continue to utilize. I believe it's in the IL philosophy that you don't have to have your camera on if you don't want to. So, I see. Is it Jerem Hawker or Julia is next? Did you see who is next, Sierra?
I don't see Julia's hand. Oh, I'm sorry. Jerem is first.
Okay.
Teresa was next, but it looks like she lowered her hand. So
Okay, and Jeremy should be able to make your. Oh, sorry, Sierra. And
Okay.
Jeremy should be able to make your comment.
Not to beat a dead horse, but this comment is kind of to what Katie said. I think the issue that they're having is part of the IL philosophy is nothing for us without us, and having this hierarchy of people controlling who speaks and who doesn't kind of gives a feeling of a hierarchy. Like we have control and you have to do as we say. And whether it's not meant, which is valid, it happens accidentally. I think it gives a feeling to people who are participating that you have the power. And that may not how you're wanting to become off. That may not necessarily how you're wanting to come off, but that's how you're coming off. And I think that's the feeling of it of a hierarchy. And when you're talking about independent living, it's we're all working together as a community. And yet at these meetings, it's almost like we have this hierarchy of we're up here and you're kind of below us, and we will tell you when to talk and speak. And it kind of gets people upset. That's my comment. I mean, and it's nothing, I'm not being trying to be rude or anything, but I think just being aware of how that makes people feel of you can speak here, you can't speak here. It just can sometimes give a sense of a hierarchy. And I think having awareness of that.
I
And
appreciate that, Jerem. I
yeah.
hear that.
And
I
a lot
hear
of
that
people
comment.
a lot of people in the disabled community honestly feel like they don't have a voice. And then when
Sure.
the council who's supposed to give them a voice can make them feel like they don't have a voice, it feels very oppressive. And not intentionally, of course, but just being aware of that,
Sure. We appreciate that. Yeah, no, I think it's just about finding that balance of, we don't have to do public comments technically. That is, we want to, and we want to make sure that we
Mhm.
are open. And we really enjoyed the ACL session that we had. That was a conversation. We thought it was really, really great. We also had additional facilitation support for that, so it's one of these things that we'd like to have more of those conversations, but for these business meetings where we need to accomplish agendas, as Mike has been saying, it's hard to make those balances. And Sierra brought up a point that maybe there's some more adjusting we can do within the settings to try to find a common ground so that people can find that community within these meetings.
Yeah, and I will say I did like Sierra's comment about that. So
Sure, absolutely.
This is Sierra. I'm gonna step in here for a moment, and because we have a rich discussion going now, and we actually have 4 people on the stack, it would be Julie, Anne, then Brianna, then Teresa. I don't know if I need to make a motion here, but I'd like to move to keep the comments open since we are set to end at 3:30. I feel like we have time and there is interest. So could I is that something that we motion about?
I
Or
think
can
we
we
can
just do it?
share. This is Mike. I think we can do that. We're scheduled until 3:30, so I think we're good
Perfect.
until then.
Yay. Okay. The next speaker then is Julie.
I understand those last comments made about a person with disabilities not feeling heard. I was born with a serious disability, and that's been my life. So I understand when you say we want to be heard. My concern is I've also been a member of government, nonprofit boards for a number of years. I've been a reporter who used the Indiana open door law, and I've seen what happens at public meetings. And my, just to kind of let you know, Jerem, the meeting that we're doing here, in my mind, is more to do the business of SPIL and do what we need to do legally to comply with government regulations and how, we make motions, we do things. It concerns a lot of money, a lot of people, and so we have to do it right. Now, if we want to have a good discussion, I'm not sure this meeting is always the best place for that. I think, when we have listening meetings around the state, this would be great conversations for that. Or maybe, we've had online webinar like this asking for comments and things. But when we're here doing a business meeting to carry on the business of NSILC to benefit the state of Indiana, there has to be an ability to do that. And my experience in the past is sometimes if you you can make things too accessible. And then what happens is sometimes things get clogged up because people bring their own stuff to the meetings, and it's just not always very productive at times. I've seen that in town meetings, county meetings that I've covered. And so my experience within Silk and Spill is that we do a good job of trying to listen. You know, we can't be responsible to make sure that everybody participates. We depend on people like me has experience and was born with a disability. I had to step forward and become part of the conversation. And so I just really think that we all need to say, look, what works best? Let's learn the system. Let's do what works. And I think Mike and his staff are honestly trying to do that. And I just wish we would allow this to play out and work together to accomplish this rather than sometimes being adversarial about it. We're all in the same boat. I mean, we're trying to do the best for everybody, all of us. And that's just all I can say. Thank you.
Thanks,
The
Julie. I appreciate
staff-
that.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, Sarah.
I just wanted to let people know. So the stack is Anne, then Brianna, Teresa, and then Jackie. Go ahead, Anne.
I just would like to say I agree with what Sierra said. If there would be a way that we could conduct this as a webinar, but for the participants to be able to see who the names of each other, and it wouldn't necessarily have to be their faces, but just who else is on the call. If that would be a possibility, I think that would be a good thing to help build a community. And if we were having this in real life, in a meeting space, people would be able to see each other. So I think if there's a way to do that, it would be beneficial to look into. Thanks.
Wonderful. Brianna, you're up.
This meeting is being recorded.
Okay, Brianna, you should be able to make your...
Okay. Is everybody able to hear me?
Yes, you're coming through fine.
Okay. I guess kind of, Jerem earlier said beating a dead horse, and I guess I'm going to come in here and offer a couple more kicks to it. I wrote in the Q&A, but I also wanted to say out loud, there's a lot of reasons that seeing people on the call would be helpful for people. I have auditory processing issues, and so a lot of the time when people are talking, I catch up maybe a minute later than everybody else. But if I'm able to see people talking, or if I'm able to look at the captions and see people talking, because the captions aren't always 100%, that helps me stay more engaged with the conversation. And also, I think that what I also wrote in the comment, these meetings have the potential to further the disability community. And whether it's a SPIL meeting, whether it's an INSILC meeting, whether it's a listening session, the entire point of INSILC and the SPIL is to further the disability community, to further the inclusion of people with disabilities, and to make life better for people with disabilities across the state. And like Jerem had said, a lot of it is we don't have a voice usually, and this is our voice. And so being actively silenced or being actively taken away from being able to connect with each other and further the rights of people with disabilities, it feels kind of crummy. And I think that there's a big potential here to do even further than what is just bare minimum required. I think a lot of the issue with like the listening sessions and things like that are happening in places that I know they're underserved, and so that fulfills some of the SPIL requirements. But, you know, how many people are going to be going to, I think, what, New Albany? I didn't even know that that place existed until you guys said you were going there. And so if you were to come to more populated areas as well as places that are underserved, like it's been mentioned before in the Q&A, you know, just because it's the bare minimum doesn't mean that you're not allowed to go further than that. And I think, and I do want to appreciate that you guys have continued the meeting to keep taking comment, because that is showing that like you are listening to some of what we're saying, but it would be really great if, you know, we could keep going further and moving forward with this.
Thank you, Brianna. I just wanted to comment one thing and just say I hear you about the auditory processing issues and why it would be helpful for people to see faces. So I just wanted to tell you that I heard that. In addition to your other comments, but specifically that one.
Teresa, you are up next. And then Jackie.
Okay, Teresa, you should be able to make your comment.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I wanted to add to Brianna's comment that as many, many deaf people have told you, they too benefit from faces. Deaf communicate not only by words, but facial expression and body language is an important part of their communication. That said, I think it's truly, it's more than unfortunate. It's more than sad that you guys do not seem to recognize that the business of the SPIL is to interact with the state's disability community, identify their issues and concerns, and then develop the SPIL. Not gather up and decide amongst 4 or 5 people what the SPIL should say, not take 6 months up to 15 months to come up with some ideas. And the business of the silk, not the SPIL, the silk, is to create community. Are none of you familiar with how the independent living movement began in the first place? Change is not always comfortable. Your emphasis on order, on having roll calls when you have 4 or 5 people involved, is getting in the way of creating an informed and empowered disability in this state. And you're going to continue hearing that, whether you choose to turn off mics, to discredit the people asking the questions or not. This ain't over. The end.
This is Sierra, and I just wanted to respond a little bit with the information that I have. Um I I wasn't sure what you meant by the 15 months. I'm sorry. Is that because we're starting early? I'm not sure if Teresa is allowed to, like, if we can have a back and forth, but
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
wanted to say that I
Teresa,
am
you may speak,
excited about the forums and like the ED gatherings that we're having right now. And is that like you're asking for like stuff in addition to that, right? Like I'm remembering the town halls is something that you've brought up before. Yeah, I'm just, I want to be responsive and do better. And so would you allow Teresa to respond to me
Yes.
even though
Yep.
we
And
have
she
3
can
minutes?
speak. Yep.
Okay. And I recognize, Jackie, that you still need to speak, and that we are at 3:21, and so I'm hoping that we can have like 8 more minutes or 7 more minutes. Sorry, Teresa, if I'm talking over you. Is Teresa able to
Yes.
unmute?
Yeah. Teresa, you should be able to speak if you'd like.
I suppose I just wanted to say I'm excited about some of the processes that we're doing.
If you look at the Q&A, Teresa is saying she can't respond.
Oh no.
If you look at the bottom of the Q&A.
Oh, there it is. Yes.
Yeah.
Teresa,
Okay.
you're a panelist. Oh, there you are.
Well, I'm only a panelist for like 3 seconds. It just came on.
Oh, sorry about that. Sorry about that.
You know, I was not being allowed to respond, Sierra, because that would be too much like a conversation. I will be happy to respond about where the 15-month comment came from.
Yeah.
When Mike sent out information about the work groups, he indicated that the work groups would take about 12 to 15 months and over 2,000 work hours to get to the point where people were going to come up with an idea or two. That's where it came. I'll be happy to send you the emails back and forth when Mike told me that my math was correct. And we who believe in action do not consider 15 months and almost 2,000 hours of work resulting in a couple of ideas to be anything significant enough to contribute to. By the time that has happened, over 15 months, I mean, I can't even, it is a ridiculous objective. It is nothing tangible. It is slow, making an appearance of action instead of action. The amount of time that they spent coming up with the list of the ADA coordinators at the jails is ridiculous. And they don't even have a plan as to what they're going to do once they find all of them, other than send them something. In our opinion, in our experience, that is not expedient. That is not something that I would encourage people to spend time contributing to. And that is where I came up with the 15 months. I would be very happy to send you the details that led to that statement and Mr. Fadrill's confirmation of my math. So
okay, and so it's too prolonged. It is essentially it's like let's get okay.
It's too prolonged. Yeah, it's too prolonged. Okay. And there's very little substantive that is anticipated to be the result of that length of time.
Okay. Teresa, I don't like cutting people off, but I want to be respectful as much as I can to Jackie, because I did it back and forth with you.
Move forward. And I just wanted to make sure to respond to you.
I'm so glad you did. Thank you. I understand.
Sure, glad I had the opportunity. Thanks for hanging in there long enough that Mike turned my button back on. Thank you.
Jackie, hopefully you're still there.
Yep, and Jackie, you should be able to make your comment.
I'm sorry, we'll
Can
have
everyone,
to make it quick.
are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So first of all, I would like to acknowledge that I sent an email on 121, which is after the INSOC meeting. I did not receive a reply back. I did copy INSOC on them, and they replied back to me. And then also, I would like to know about these public feedback forums that you're having. You've acknowledged that there's multiple of them. Um, but how are they being used? When are they being used? Because we also know that the spill can be redone at any time.
Yep. And Jackie, this is Mike. And so we have had one of our SPIL director only forums. We had that last week. We have two more upcoming, one on Wednesday and one next Friday, I believe. And those are where the SPIL directors have a chance to make comments both on the current spill and on their thoughts on the upcoming spill that we're beginning to write. And then our plan is to conduct more forums in March that give an opportunity for all the SIL staff to be able to respond in the same way, and then to begin public comment and to have a variety of public comment sessions where folks can give comment both on the current spill and on a potential new spill throughout from that kind of March-April timeframe throughout the whole writing process. And we haven't announced the specific dates and times of that yet because we're still kind of putting that together and thinking that through. Once those are done, we will announce those on our website. We'll put them in our newsletter. We'll put them on social media. We'll send them out to the SILs. We'll spread them as far and as wide as we can. So there will be plenty of opportunities for the public to give input during the process of writing the spill between now and when it's due to the council to approve, which is June of 2027. So there'll be a variety of options between now and then to do that. And as we start to plan the logistics of when and how those will be, we will get those announced and again, put them as wide as we can on our website, through our newsletter, through our social media channels, and then through the SILs.
Okay. And what about the email that I sent on the 21st?
I will look back and see if I have that. I was emailing you last week, and so I will make sure to continue to do that, but we were emailing back and forth then. I will go back and look for one on the 21st.
Okay, I am going to intervene for the sake of time. We need to adjourn. Before we make a motion to adjourn, our next public spill meeting is Monday, May 18th at 2 p.m. And that link and everything will be posted on the website if it isn't already. And I would like someone to make a motion to adjourn. Julie, do we
I'd
have
like
to
to
do
make
that out loud? Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn, and I'd also like to make a motion in support of Mike and Katie and the work they do for this committee.
Thank you.
This is Luis. I second the motion to adjourn.
30 p.m.
Okay, that we need to vote on that. I
We
nearly
do.
forgot about that. That's right. Okay, let's go ahead and vote to adjourn. Luis,
I agree.
Anne,
Agree.
Linda. Wait. She popped off, didn't she?
Linda popped off, yes.
Okay. Julie
Agreed.
and Sierra agreed. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Oh, that means we're adjourned.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
All right. Peace.
Bye.